All right, next let's kick it down to Oxford. Lane Kiffin met with the media for, I believe, the first time since Ole Miss started camp. And interesting news here where, a lot of people saw this coming. I certainly didn't. This time last year I was singing the praises of John Rhys Plumlee. I love watching that guy play. And it certainly sounds like, not official that he's done at quarterback, but the way Kiffin says his focus has moved to receiver. And, it's interesting that Kiffin notes that because he makes a good point. I mean, the guy's never really been a full-time receiver, and if he's splitting time in the quarterback room and a receiver, how much of a chance does that really give him to make an impact at that receiver role? Who knows? Maybe he's the next Elijah Moore, and he'll go to the NFL, playing at that slot position. So let's kick it over to Lane Kiffin, talking about John Rhys Plumlee working with the receivers exclusively to start camp here.
Lane, it looked like this morning John Rhys was taking a lot of reps at the slot, and mostly at the slot, not in a white quarterback jersey. What can you tell us about Kincaid Dent, Luke Altmaier right now? What you're looking for them throughout fall camp to try to fill that number 2 quarterback spot?
Yeah, Kincaid and Luke will be in a really big competition for that spot. Knowing that John at times could go back there, and but the focus is John playing a receiver because I don't think he can get really good at that doing both, having never done it before. So, he's basically there, full-time for right now early in camp, see how we can develop him there, and that's really the only fair thing to do to him. If you go back and forth, it's just too hard at this level to get really good at it.
All right, so interesting comments there from Kiffin. And then the other one, we all have heard it all off season, and I've been guilty of it as well. Ole Miss defense was so terrible last year, but a little bit of a corner was turned when Otis Reese got into the lineup. Of course, the transfer from Georgia, who had to sit out nearly the whole damn season for some reason, and it wasn't until he started calling out the NCAA that the wheels got in motion here. That should have never been done, and thanks to the one-time transfer waiver, that we won't have to deal with that anymore. But once Otis Reese got in the lineup, really seemed to help Ole Miss on defense, especially, of course. And then so Kiffin talks about getting Otis Reese for the entire season, having him in training camp, and also on the fact that the secondary liability at times. There's no way to get around that, but they added a lot of good pieces here in the recent signing class, and Kiffin sounds fired up about the depth that they're going to have at that position. And anytime I think of Ole Miss secondary, I hate to bring it up, but I just think of that Auburn game, which refs may have blew that one for them, but at the end of the day, it was on the secondary to make a play there against Seth Williams, and they didn't do it.
Well, that was a long year for him. Obviously we were grateful when it happened, but he went through a lot of ups and downs because it would look like it was close, then it wouldn't happen, and so I was just happy that he stayed with it, did such a great job on service team, but stayed in the game plan, knowing that at any time it could happen. And I'm sure, that was a struggle because it was so late in the season he still wasn't eligible. So he did a good job getting thrown in there, and now he's had a whole off season to really get comfortable and expect a really big season from him. I think it is a good mix of some veteran players that return with a lot of young players. They obviously all won't play this year, but eventually, that's going to be a really deep group as those guys get older. So I think it's a really good mix. We do a lot of multiple things where there's a lot of DBs on the field at the same time. So I think there'll be a lot of opportunity for those guys to play and play a number of different spots.
All right, so Kiffin he doesn't get very enthusiastic during these pressers, but that's about as enthusiastic as you're going to hear him talk about defenses. So I just thought Ole Miss fans would appreciate that, and that's what, fingers crossed, that's what they're hoping for. Improve this defense. We're not looking for them to be gangbusters or anything on that side of the ball. Just be capable in SEC play, and Ole Miss is going to surprise a lot of people if that happens.